Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Madmen with a Box Live. It's our 134th time doing it. Joining me as always is, of course, Chris. OZChris.
Well, it's probably a bit more. We have our lost episodes, our missing episodes. I don't know. I'm thinking we might get Ian Levine to animate them. I hear he's pretty good.
Why are you?
I hear he's well respected, and it's definitely not a scam to get money off of us. So I don't know. I'll give him the old recorded stuff, and we'll see how that goes. I promise you, Pixel, you won't look like a monstrosity. You won't look like a weird.
I already do.
Weird boxy stick figure with less or additional fingers on your hands.
Okay.
I did preface by saying, make Pixel sing Doctor in Distress in these adaptations.
Thank you, Chris. You bring such a vibrant life that we just wouldn't have if you didn't show up.
I won't take less, so
that's fair. It's fair. And not taking less, of course, is Joe of the Corallos. Hello, Joe.
It's true. Hello.
We should have Gevain join us in a little bit at least. I don't know about Landry with the Q Walkers, but yeah. We only have two pieces of news to talk about, and they both have to do with, you guessed it, RTD.
Well, one's fully RTD. One, he has a co-conspirator with them.
That's right. My boy, the best.
Chris Chibnall?
He said the best, not the best that ever was.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, sorry.
Yes.
Mark Gatiss.
Thank you. Thank you.
Go.
Yes, Mark Gatiss. That's it. How'd you know?
It's like I'm on the internet. It's like I gave you the post in our chat.
Finally, I got it logged in. After all this time, I did learn how.
Yeah, for those who need a reminder, Pixel doesn't have his setup, so he's using literally anything that he can because he's the one who runs the streams, so he kind of has to. And he's hooked his Steam Deck up to work as like essentially a second monitor, so we can show links. The problem is our two links, well, one of them is a video and one of them is just a picture of Russell T Davies. So it's all for nothing. He's done this entire thing. He's still doing it now for 2 bits of news that we don't really need to show. And if that does not summarize our podcast, I don't know what will.
You know, I do this out of love. And look, there's Gevain. See, I can go ahead and add Gevain. There. Yeah. Hi, Gevain.
Hey, fellas, how you doing?
Good.
Sounds like I came in the middle of an epic gripe.
Yeah.
You know, I try so hard. What do you want to talk about? What do you want to talk about first?
Well, of the two, well, it's a real coin flip situation there. What do I want to talk about? We'll talk about the first one being, of course, everyone has this big hubbub about Russell D Davies says there's a conversation. Well, they are conversations about next showrunner. So, of course, everyone wants to talk about who could possibly take over from RTD.
That wasn't me.
That wasn't me either. Probably was you, Pixel.
But that doesn't make any sense. I'm on an iPad. This is muted. Who could it be? Who can it be now?
Well, I guarantee it's not Jimmy, so...
Okay, yeah. You know what? You won. It's definitely not Jimmy.
Yeah, so this article was published about a couple of days ago. saying that when time came for former Doctor Who showrunner Chris Chibnall to pass over the reins, few predicted his replacement would be RTD, who made the unexpected return to the show several years after his previous stint. He was on a podcast with David Tennant recently, or some time ago, called David Tennant Does a Podcast With, saying that Davies joked that he won't go back for a third time at any point in the future, meaning if he left, he's not going to come back to showrun again. Tennant teased that he hadn't thought he'd go back a second time either, and saying that Davies said that that's very true, but I'm not getting any younger, darling, but I'll need to slow down at some point. That'll come. Last time was Stephen Moffat, who replaced him, and that wasn't even a day's work. Like, right, off you go. He added this. Thinking about that, there's conversations about that, but it's hard. It's a tricky one, but they better exist. Imagine I'm dead at the desk. The cliche would kill me. This isn't really anything. It's just like, okay, who could take over from me?
I did it.
There we go.
Know.
And then you're
gonna have a link,
and that's it. All this effort for this thing of a picture of a person we know, and we've seen many times.
I know, it's so special, isn't it?
But yeah, this news is really nothing because it's just like, I don't know who could someone's going to take over from me. I'm not.
Yeah.
If someone takes over from me, I'm not coming back a third time. I'll come back and make Tri-Generation.
And then I'll have a spin-off, but it's also
and then I'll
bring
back.
So you don't know which is the actual Doctor Who.
Yeah, and then I'll bring back Fenric for the finale of the season. But now he's just, I don't know, missed.
RTD also had another interesting conversation, we could say.
Well, while you get that up, I will say, as I said, a lot of people were talking about this, like, who could be the showrunner after RTD? There's your joke ones where it's like, oh, just be Stephen Moffat again. We're just going to go through the cycle again. It's just going to be RTD, Moffat, Chibnall, rinse, repeat. I don't think that's going to be the case. But then again, Moffat said he wouldn't come back, and then he eventually did come back twice. So, I don't know. If someone asked him, hey, you want to showrun again? He'd be like, oh, I'd be crazy to do that. It's like, I think he's coming back again. I honestly don't want it to be Moffat again. I don't want it to be Chibnall again. I feel like it has to be someone new. Get someone. Because we've gone with what? It's been 20 years since this show has come back. And it's still like that same group of friends. Like running it. Could be a different person each time, but it's that same group of friends running it. I feel like we need to look outside of the friend group. We need someone completely separate from them to be the showrunner. And as cliche as this could be, I feel like we need an Andor approach. We need someone that isn't really that much of a fan of the property, but just wants to do good stuff with it. Yeah. Which I would think, okay, who could that be as a showrunner? Because honestly, at this point, I really could not, outside of Doctor Who, I cannot name a showrunner. Because I feel like in this current landscape, the showrunner is like not that known.
Yeah.
It's either the stars or the writer or whoever's like producing it.
And then when they do get known, they go ahead and they screw up the last season of their show to go ahead and make a Star Wars movie, and then their movie gets canceled because they screwed the pooch so bad.
Yeah, but like, no, it'll be some like showrunner of some like, I don't know, hospital drama or some shit like that.
And they make the best Doctor Who in the world somehow.
I mean, it's got to be better than this, right? You know,
let's get the showrunner of hit cop show The Rookie, and they're gonna make like every episode's gonna be turn left, like Heaven Sent.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people love the Rookie.
I know. A lot of people.
I'd be better than this.
Like early this year, I started watching the Mr. Sunday movies and their weekly podcast, and they have somewhat of a recurring joke of like, oh, the Rookie, and it's like, that's your favorite show. And it's like, I've never watched that show before. And it's like, yeah, you've mentioned it like several times. It's like, I've never watched that show. It's, oh, I've just started watching the Rookie. It's like, yeah, it's not that bad. Nathan Fillion's in it, but yeah, it's not that bad.
Amazing.
But yeah, I don't know who we could get as a showrunner, like following up from RTD. No, that's if the rumors of it being cancelled are true, which I don't think. I don't think that's the case. When your source is the sun. That's like me getting medical advice from Elon Musk. It's like, yeah, no. Like, buddy.
I mean, part of me is worried that it's going to be like a stunt showrunner. Like, David Tennant's going to be the new showrunner. And it's just like a figurehead thing. And he's just like an ambassador for the show. And then it's just kind of run just like kind of now, but somehow even more half-assed. And that's just what they'll do.
Guys, we're gonna get Neil Gaiman. It's like,
no, we don't do that anymore.
No.
We don't say that name anymore.
Like, if this was like committee and like the big bosses, the suits, as you will, running through names is like, oh, we should bring John Nathan Turner back. Is like, for the last time, he's dead. We can't do. He's dead. We can't do that. Oh yeah, what about Terrence Dix? He's so dead. We can't bring him. How about Sidney Oh my god, how many times do we have to tell you this?
He's dead, Jeff.
What about Kevin Feige? No, you fucking keep him away from that shit.
Speaking of showrunners, two showrunners went ahead and guess who? They went ahead and had a conversation. This is actually from what is it? The Church of Ruby Road Unleashed, I think, because on YouTube they released a whole bunch of the Unleashed. I don't know why.
A lot of stuff are doing that. Like, Disney is releasing all of Andor season 1 on YouTube.
Go watch it.
Go watch it. No, if you want something that's good, then isn't Doctor Who Andor.
Andor what?
Andor, I don't know.
They had a conversation about companions and saying that they always kept going back to the modern companion. Moffat was the only one who had a potential real companion that was in the Victorian era with Clara, but he said that no, they just kept going back to no, because that doesn't really work.
Their reasoning being kind of like condense it. Their reasoning being is that it's too much to write a companion that is not from modern day and to keep it like that the entire season that they're in, because they think they'll run into the problem that eventually they're just going to get modernized. They're going to be traveling for so long they're just going to get modernized. To which, and they use examples of like this happening in Classic Who. It's like, oh yeah, I love Jamie and Victoria, but by the end of their like 10 years, they were both very modern. And I'm like, why? Because they don't dress in their era really anymore? No, like Jamie still doesn't understand technology like up until the War Games.
Yeah, I mean,
Victoria is very like quick at adapting, so maybe she would be like getting there with like being modernized, but even then, like a little bit of her character is still there as being like a Victorian era a woman. Like when she gets clothes and she's like, I'm not used to wearing clothes that are like this short.
But like, what a dumb fucking reason.
Yeah. Oh, I'm worried about them getting modernized.
Yeah, it's like I'm worried that someone might accidentally have a character arc on this show.
I'm worried that my character won't adapt.
Yeah, what a bunch of dog shit.
Yeah, because I think it was either Moffat or RT.
No, it was Moffat, because Moffat was the one who had, like I said, the potential of a Victorian companion.
Yeah, like Moffat is like,
and he said that they did like he wrote like 2 episodes with Clara out of time, and every time for him writing, it didn't feel like it worked for him. They liked the modern companion because it feels like we're the companion. We're watching Doctor Who through the companion's eyes, which, I mean, that is how they viewed it. And that's how they view it. And they talk about that all the time.
Yeah, and
the show's only gotten more popular since then. Like, fucking idiots.
And like Moffat also adds that, well, by the end, once they leave and they go back to their normal time, they're a completely different person. Like, well, yeah, unless they do a mind wipe, but yeah, of course they've had this entire experience in time with like the Doctor in different times and different like worlds and everything. Of course they're going to be a different person. They're not going to go back and be like, oh, I'm going to go back and eat haggis now. Oh, well, yeah, I haven't been on a spaceship. I'm going to eat haggis. It's like, what? Like,
you used the companion that didn't have a mind wipe, though.
That's true. Yeah.
That's the thing. Jamie and Zoe, they both end up with a mind wipe.
Well, not anymore, but.
Well, tomato.
But
not even that. I think they're old now, so it doesn't matter. They're near death.
The thing is, it's like, I get where they're coming from. Write what you know. And it's obviously going to be a much easier time for you. But I do think it's just this excuse of like, well, they're eventually going to be modern anyway, so why don't we just make them modern from the get-go? It's like
go to a fancy restaurant and all the tables are bare, and you're like, you put all this work into this restaurant, don't you want to have tablecloths? I mean, the table's going to get messy anyway, so like, I don't see why we should use tablecloths. Like, it's like, no, you sound like a dumb, lazy fuck. Like, that's all. Like, that's what it ends up. It comes off that way.
Now, the only one. Now, Joe, you're a writer. As a writer, you know, like, you got to put some effort into this. And maybe sometimes you want to push yourself on like something that you're not very familiar with. I feel like RTD and Russell, RTD and Stephen, as writers, would be like, this could be a challenge, and I want to take this challenge. Because we haven't really done this in Modern Who, of having a companion that's not from this time, and see how different it would be for like someone from like the Victorian era in like 31st century, and it's because you can have that also helps with their character, because like their perspective is going to be very different from like, well, the Doctor's been everywhere. The Doctor's going to like, okay, I'm going to adapt to this because I'm familiar with this, but they're not. It'll add to their character and show their growth.
But it's also like, you don't have to sign a companion for a whole season. They could just travel with the Doctor like 3 or 4 times and like bounce. You don't like have the Doctor have a companion that's like a Viking or a sumo wrestler or a pharaoh or something, and like have a little fun with the show and the premise for a bit. Like,
have a temporary companion, like you did, Russell. You had temporary companions.
Yes,
you had Captain Jack for series 1 was a temporary companion. Leaves at the end of the series, or gets left behind. But Mickey was a temporary companion for series 2.
You're listed 2 people that got canceled, man. I don't know if this is a great example.
And then I'm going to re-mention the canceled one again with Series 3 Jack.
Yeah.
Martha, who was a previous companion, came back as a temporary companion for like 2-3 episodes.
Well, yeah, for the end of season 4.
No, she was in the Sontaran 2-parter, and then she was in the Doctor's Daughter as well, because she was accidentally taken with them. Yeah, like you can have temporary companions, and you can add the twist of like they're not from this time, so the dynamics and stuff either going to be like meshing or conflicting with where they are. Like you could have someone from a time and their worldview is very different. And you're like, hang on, like maybe, during this time, maybe that's not acceptable. It's like,
yeah, or like you have a companion who's from like farther into the future, companion from like the 40th century or something like that, and you have them on for a few times, and maybe the doctor initially thinks this person's great, but like this is someone who has a long lifespan or something like that. Maybe they're like a couple of thousand years old or something, because in the future we just live longer, and values life significantly less, and then the doctor and this companion have a quarrel, and the doctor has to, drop him off and leave him behind. Like that is more interesting than almost anything they've fucking done with companions in a long time. Like it's not hard.
Yeah, guys. That reminds me. Six Doctor Big Finish. The Six Doctor Adventures. They did a box set setting up an antagonist. And the antagonist starts off as a potential companion. Like the Doctor goes back and like takes them to the future. And what you think is happening is like they're having shell shock of like experiencing the future, meeting all these different like races and everything and all that. And the Doctor takes them back and you find out they're not having shell shock. They are actually incredibly bigoted. And they don't like that this is the future. It's like, why are all these people here? They're different. They're different. They're not normal. I don't like this. And the Doctor is, rightfully so, incredibly upset with them for thinking like this. And that was from a one-off potential companion that became an antagonist.
Yeah.
It's like, see, this is why, as for the next showrunner, I don't want the group. I don't want anyone from the friend group. No previous showrunner, I would say not even the previous writer. I feel like, I don't know, maybe it could be terrible, but I want them to have a go at having someone that had nothing to do with Doctor Who as the showrunner. Completely fresh. That's what they want. They've been trying to push this era as. It's fresh. It's new and fresh. And no, it isn't. It's to use current internet lingo, they're reheating nachos.
What?
They're reheating their own nachos. Pixel, be on the internet, okay? Maybe once you get a working PC, just browse the internet. Catch up with the hit new lingo or slang, as you will.
Fetch is never going to be a thing, Chris.
Well, you're pretty fucking outdated there. Whoa, calm down. No, like
preheating your own nachos.
Even though I think
that's
like
a joke, right? I think nobody's actually saying that, right?
No, they have. It's more to do with the music, but it's like,
oh, good God.
But at least with this upcoming companion with Belinda, they're at least bringing back like the whole I don't want to be here. Take me back home. But I'm worried that won't last long. That could literally just be maybe the second story, and then that's it.
No.
Whereas you had someone like Tegan, where her initial arc was like, "Please take me home. I need to get to Heathrow. Please take me back. We're not in Heathrow. Now I'm being possessed by a snake. Now we're dressing up at a party and Nyssa has a doppelganger. This isn't Heathrow. Adric is dead."
Good.
And then after that is when she gets back to Heathrow. It took Adric dying for the Doctor to be like, okay, maybe I'll take you back.
Yeah.
Heathrow, Doctor. Heathrow. Yeah, no, that's the conversation here. That's
once again, Russell opens his mouth.
This isn't Russell though.
This is Russell adjacent.
This was Moffat, because I watched the episode. I watched the clip, and I get what they're saying, but just like the person.
Yeah, I know, right? What you know, but
I get. Yeah, no.
Maybe challenge yourself sometime.
I loved Victoria and Clara. I would have kept Victoria and Clara, but I'm not Stephen Moffat. That is clear because I'm
Your
black.
other Steve, your evil Stephen Moffat with a PH. Stephen Moffat.
Stephen Moffat.
And then the two F's are also a PH.
I see. This okay. That
Someone make that just evil Stephen Moffat, and it's just Stephen and then Moffat. So, should we talk about our review?
should we?
I guess
Sure.
we have no other news.
It's
Until
true.
the series comes out, there's nothing to talk about.
We're almost there though.
I know,
So
we're
it's
almost
come
there.
to this.
One more month.
Joe is going to start us off today.
All right, before we start, let's lead up into what we're talking about. So we're talking about the opener to Season 14, Fourth Doctor era of Classic Who, The Masque of Mandrogora, written by Lewis Marks, directed by Rodney Bennett, and produced by Philip Hinchcliffe. An encounter with a living energy structure known as the Mandragora Helix leads the TARDIS to 15th century Italy. Between palace intrigue, the machinations of a sinister cult, and a rogue fragment of Helix energy, the Fourth Doctor and Sarah have their hands full. There is not much time, for when Mandragora swallows the moon, it will be time to strike. Yes, starting off with Joe, your thoughts on The Masque of Mandragora, aka where's the pizza?
Yeah, no, this one sucks. It's so like for context, there are plenty of stories like this, right? The Doctor and the Companion end up in a situation where, you know, they're in the past, or, you know, it's even like a medieval sort of thing, and there's some alien force and they have to stop it from messing with these people. The Time Warrior, not that many seasons ago at this point, does a much better job with that story. It's a much better story than this. But even stories like you know, there's elements of this in like Kinda and Snake Dance. There's elements of this in I guess like Ribos Operation. Like there's a lot of other stories that do this. But the way this was written, it felt like the Doctor and Sarah Jane never gelled with the cast.
Yep.
Like all the supporting cast feels so separated from the Doctor and the Companion here. And it feels like it takes till the very end of the third part of 4 before people really seem to be like working together and trying to like stop what's happening. Like the pacing's terrible. None of the actors in sort of the supporting cast are very interesting or stand out. It's hard when you compare it to something like Time Warrior because like you get like an actor like Jeremy Bulloch in that one. So like it's almost cheating, but yeah, and the villain is just so bland and so generic. It never feels fleshed out. It never feels like we have it. Like it's more two-dimensional than most. Like even in stories that are like kind of similar with the bad guy who's like, I'm doing, you know, bad thing for evil, usually is a little more fleshed out, but like this felt like it had no real interest in engaging with the audience and getting them on, you know, getting them invested in the plot. Even the moment where like you have the bit with like, you know, Sarah Jane's like mind controlled for like the 17th or 18th time, and goes to stab the doctor, and even that felt like an afterthought. It felt very half-assed. And unlike Seeds of Doom, which I remember we also discussed with I think Landry was there for that one as well. But in that one, even though the story wasn't necessarily the best, the doctor got a lot of really good lines in. Mm-hmm. That doesn't really happen here. The doctor doesn't even have really it's a waste of Tom Baker. He has no real good lines. There's no memorable lines. There's no real cool, witty retorts back and forth.
You're saying that the iconic line, "I wouldn't even say no to a salami sandwich," isn't going to stick with you for the rest of your life?
No, you know what? It's crazy, but no. So it's
put that on my fucking tombstone.
and even for a Doctor Who story in this era, the effects and the way it's shot are particularly poor. There's a lot of close up to nothing, point, and lots of close ups and things like this. It's this is the same season that we get Deadly Assassin and the Talons of Wang Chiang, that both have pretty good effects, all things considered, for the time period. Two of the strongest stories in the entirety of the Hinecliffe era. But I mean, this story and then Hand of Fear after this, both suck a lot. It kind of makes you go yeah, it was probably best that Sarah Jane left at this point. That's two pretty big stinkers in a row. But this one is what a waste of everyone's time. I think I'll wrap it up there.
Yeah. Gevain, what are your thoughts on this episode?
Well, I guess my two major thoughts are, and a lot of this is going to echo what Joe is saying, but I think it's the fact that there's that joke in The Big Bang Theory where Amy explains to Sheldon why Indiana Jones isn't necessary to the plot of Raiders of the Lost Ark, because it was just open the Ark and the Nazis would have died anyway, so it's who cares? And that's kind of how I feel about this whole episode, this story. It's the doctor and Sarah, if they had not shown up, it just feels like these events would have played out on their own anyway. It just feels like an excuse to do someone that wanted to get Hamlet out of their system. They found a way to do it, the doctor, and that's what it was. They just have, there's no stakes. There's nothing that they're doing. There's no way that they're involved in the series of events that makes them necessary to what the inevitable resolution is. Because basically the resistance just shows up out of nowhere and basically overthrows the evil bad guy. So it's they're superfluous. I mean, Joe mentioned Time Warrior, other stories. To me, it's this is a poor man, and I'm talking about poor man. No offense to the homeless, but a homeless man's version of the Aztecs. That was a much better version of this, where you at least had Barbara being a history teacher, I remember correctly, taking this opportunity to try to change a civilization that she thought a lot of. So she was directly impacting the story there. There's the whole thing of the doctor kind of fending off this budding romance with this older woman who he is kind of attracted to, but he kind of realizes is not going anywhere. It's just, there was a lot more going on. And from the get-go, the main cast was involved with the supporting cast in a way that it was meaningful. One way or another, no one's going to walk out of that story unchanged. Whether it was Barbara realizing there's some things you just can't do anything about. It's kind of like the Serenity Prayer. Give me the wisdom to know what I can and can't change, and the wisdom to know the difference. And with the doctor, I think for the first time kind of realizing that, he can't love people a certain way, because of, just people being mortals, and he's not necessarily mortal in that way. So it was just, and there was just a mid. Now you're talking about reheat nachos. I use one of the expressions my daughters use all the time. It was just mid, and even mid is probably giving it too much credit. It's one of those stories. It's unfortunately, because I'm becoming more and more fan of the Fourth Doctor, but I can't remember one memorable line or moment from this with the Doctor. Even with the Sarah Jane bit, I know she's been mind controlled a couple of times, but even then, I thought they could have done more with it. Played it out over a longer thing, had her doing things she hadn't done before, especially since she was on the way out. Maybe plumb that for some deep, dark depths, but they just really did nothing with it. And and one of my, sometimes with some of these episodes from the classic era, that's why I'm kind of like the modern era. It's like this thing should have been 3 episodes tops, 3 parts tops, maybe even 2, because it just wasn't anything going on. So just very disappointed overall. But this just makes me want to watch the Aztecs again.
Yeah.
For me, listen, I talk about the Twitch live stream that they ran years ago now. Like 6 years ago, I think. Anyway, one of the bits that they would go ahead and show, so like, hey, throw doctor, hey, throw, and you go ahead and you get these small things. That salami sandwich line is so stupid. It's so ridiculous, but it's the only thing that I remembered from this episode. And you know what? I watched this episode today. I watched the last part like 2 more times because I was like, okay, maybe there's something redeeming in here that I'm missing.
Yep.
No, this sucks. This absolutely sucks. It sucks the salami right out of the sandwich. So, yeah, no, I'm not feeling it, bud. I can't explain more. It just really it sucks like that. Go ahead, Chris.
No, yeah, I've watched this before, and I remember not enjoying it the first time, and I thought, okay, maybe if I have a rewatch, bit of a fresher experience, I might like it a bit more. Nope. I was justified with my first thought. I don't like this. It's very boring. It's very mid. Yeah, just everything about this story. Are you playing with fucking emojis on your screen or something, Pixel? What was that?
What?
It's a random
the thumbs up.
Thumbs up in a thought bubble appeared right next to you. Did you not see that?
No.
Bro, it happened last week too.
Yeah. Is this like subliminal messaging or something? He's psyoping like
Are you kidding?
a viewer.
No, it happened last week.
You're like transmitting coded messages through that thumbs up.
Like this?
The target will be on 38 and 5 Street in exactly 50 minutes. You need to angle yourself on the nearest skyscraper. It's all encoded on the thumbs up. It's a trigger. It's a trigger for an assassin or something.
I
wish it triggered me to forget this episode.
Let's try again.
That's just a real thumbs up. That means nothing.
No, I don't know what you're
I don't think
about.
it's. I'll have to go back and watch what the hell. Because I'm not crazy. Because 2 of us saw it, so I'm not crazy. I'm not seeing shit. I'm a madman, but I haven't lost it yet. But no, this episode is just very boring. I don't know if making it shorter would have saved it. I still probably would not have liked it either way. Yeah, like Joe said, like just the Doctor and Sarah just don't mesh with the rest of the cast. It honestly just feels like they're just there because, well, the show's called Doctor Who. They're there, I guess.
So if I could throw this out to Joe real quick before we do numbers, it's like, how do shows like this happen? Like, how do they get past producers, editorial? I mean, how do they happen?
I don't know. Remember that when Doctor Who was first being created and pitched, it was supposed to be something that was also educational. So I feel like with some of them, and like a lot of it used to be like starting off with like historical stuff. So with an unearthly child, they go back and meet cavemen. But then it really picks up when it's like we need to go into like the more sci-fi stuff. So you have the Daleks.
Yeah.
But every now and again, you'll always have those historical episodes, and it's like we're teaching you something about history. Look, here's the stuff about Rome, and it got burnt down. Guess was the doctor that did it?
Well,
yeah,
one of the things,
it feels like this was supposed to be a historical, but I don't think anyone knows. It's just a historical setting.
Yeah, I think with a story like this in particular, like you look at who wrote it, they never came back.
Marks. Well, this is like their last story because they did Day of the Dalek. They did. I actually have it here. Yeah. Before this, they did Planet of Evil. I've never watched that one. Day of the Daleks, we have watched that one. We've reviewed that. And then they did Planet of Giants, which I watched and was like, this is the most pointless fucking episode.
Yeah.
Story in season. There was season 2, yeah? That's the one where they're on the planet of giants.
Oh no!
That. So you look at a story like this, and it's like they have a track record of working for different showrunners. Clearly, it just didn't work with Philip Hinecliffe, but you could see how someone where it's like, oh well, we're padding out this season. We got some things to work on, and like, oh yeah, I mean, Day of the Daleks was good, so like this will probably work out, and like it did not.
No, and I'll talk about this like after we give our ratings, and I give some fun little facts. If this story didn't exist, Elizabeth Sladen would have left in the previous season. That's apparently like she heard about this story and she's like, I want to do this. I was like, oh, okay. Wasn't a particularly good story, Liz, but sure, you stayed on for an extra 2.
She just really wanted to be in that dress in the last episode. It was a nice dress.
She didn't do a lot of I could see her kind of being like she started with a historical. She hadn't really gotten to do many outside of Time Warrior, so maybe kind of being like, okay, I'll stick around to do some more of that.
Then Hand of Fear, but yeah, whatever.
Hand of Fear.
Yeah, we got you. Terrible. We got you for an extra 7 months, so that has time for another serial. So I guess we're going to ratings. Joe.
Wait. Huh? You give us. Yeah, I mean, I know you usually give us the fun story time notes on this. But
yeah,
do you see the working titles for this story?
Oh no, what's the working titles? Here we go.
Go ahead.
Catacombs of Death, Doom of Destiny, Secret of the Labyrinth, and The Curse of Mandragora.
And all those sound more interesting than what actually happened.
The Secret of the Labyrinth is something that I need right now. Where is my Doctor Who story called
Secret of the Labyrinth? It'll have AI CGI David Bowie in it.
And Minotaurs.
And Minotaurs, yes.
The Nymon are back!
Woo! Thank you, Russell. Now they're the God of Horns. I don't know. Something that fucking stupid. But anyway, before we get into our fun little facts, ratings, Joe, what would you give this fun story?
I don't know, I feel like it's a bit maybe it's too harsh, but also why would I give this more than a 3?
There you go, Joe.
It's I think it's a 3. It's it gets points for still for not having technical errors and things like that, but there's no rewatch value to it. At least Hand of Fear is Sarah's exit. There's a thing that's important that happens in that one. So
yeah.
Yep, that's it.
Gevain, I know what you want to give. Go ahead. Give your number.
Well, because Joe's giving me permission, I'll say this before I get my number. So you know how they say that 90% of life is showing up? Not in this case. 2. A solid 2. I go 1, but I'm just feeling particularly charitable tonight, so I'm gonna give it a 2.
Most of it is that it's just boring. So I'll be a step kinder to it. I'll say 4.
What?
I'll say 4. Listen, it's not a good episode by any stretch of the imagination, but I can't say that there's anything in the episode that's like, oh man, this is horrible. This is absolutely horrible to the point that I'm offended. No. That's what I go ahead and rank it on. Like,
just real quick, kid, name one episode that was worse than this.
Ever?
Ever? Yeah, it was worse than this.
We just watched a few episodes ago. Watched one of the worst. What was it?
Hang on, let me go check. Let's check our history.
Did you do Time in the Ranny? Is that it?
No, we haven't done that yet.
That we haven't done. But we did do Dragonfire. Oh my god!
And Dragonfire is better than this.
Yeah, Dragonfire is better than this. It's not the best thing ever. It's definitely better than this.
I guess it's more entertaining. So on that,
the only other classic.
The problem with this one is just how boring it all is. Like,
Android Invasion. That's also fucking boring. We did that.
A lot of Sarah Jane's stuff isn't great.
Yeah.
Like, she's in like a handful of like iconic store, obviously Genesis of the Daleks and Brain of Morbius and Pyramids of Mars, but like a lot of the other stuff with Baker sucks. Robot was also not good.
No. Oh my god, no, it wasn't.
What was that?
Robot. What did we do? We did Robot versus...
We did that paired with Spearhead from Space.
And Spearhead from Space is clear.
I might like Spearhead more than some people that are on here, but even with that said, Robot's just awful. Like, it's weird. Like, it's... Even though so many people, I feel like there's still that lingering dislike of John Nathan Turner and people with the idea of like the more control he got of the show, the worse it got. Tom Baker's last season, when he was the full-on showrunner, is easily one of the best seasons of Tom Baker as a whole, as the Doctor.
Yeah, but I still feel like,
You're standing by that 4?
No, I'll go 3. I'll go down.
Come on down to 3, Pix.
I went down to 3. Okay,
Hey.
I'm going
Good.
down.
There we go.
All right, Chris. Give us
Yeah, I'm gonna give this a 3 as well. Like, yeah, it's not a particularly good story. It's really boring.
Yes.
So I was right the first time and not enjoying it. I'm still right not enjoying it a second time. Hopefully, down the line, once we've done everything, I don't do it a third time.
Right.
So, with our ratings out of the way, fun facts about this serial. This is the debut of the second console room.
Oh
secondary
my god!
console room. And it's
a
ugly.
that console room alone. Thank you for reminding me.
Yeah, that's why this is the worst episode, because it introduces that fugly thing. This is also the first episode to explain how the Doctor and the companions understand other languages than English.
Really?
Because of the TARDIS translation circuit, yes. This is the first. It's so weird that this bad episode introduces, explains a concept that just wasn't explained beforehand.
And that was such a throwaway because I don't even watch.
Yeah, it's such a throwaway to be like, oh, I knew Sarah was mind controlled this entire time because she's never asked before how
It's just
everyone is
just for that.
Yeah,
I thought that was
such
something
a weird throwaway line. That's kind of important to like explain. Like, oh yeah, that's right. How were the Doctor and Co able to speak to the Romans? How the hell were they able to speak to cavemen? Cavemen are dumb. They go ooga booga. Like how they can't be like, oh Sisyphus, that fire over there. That man produces fire. I am a caveman. You can tell by my voice. Saying that, I want them to actually do that now. It just they go back in time, they meet cavemen, and they're like very like posh, like Shakespearean voice.
No, I
because like that's the best way the TARDIS can translate them.
Who was I having as the master in Grace? What's his name?
Oh, I don't. You'd have to.
You are the most devious bastard in New York City.
Matt Berry.
Matt Berry. That's all they all know.
Most devious bastard in New York City. Yes, as I mentioned earlier, Liz Sladen stayed on for an additional 7 months because of this story. She would have left in the previous series.
Did they say why she wanted to be in this story so bad?
She just found out about this story and just wanted to be in it. Maybe she just likes Italy.
Maybe.
I don't know. The Mandragora energy was originally supposed to be invisible. Instead, a recording of an industrial sparkler would be superimposed over the relevant footage. Instead, yes. The writer had specialized in Renaissance Italy while completing his doctorate at university. Maybe that's why they said it in Italy. It's like, well, I know my shit. There was definitely a guy called Hieronymus back then. Which is not true because this is... The Mandragora Helix was named after Nicola di Bernardo di Machiavelli's 1518 comedy La Mandragola, literally the Mandrake. While Hieronymus was a Latinate variant of the first name of Girolamo Savonarola. I butchered all of those. Sorry, I don't speak at the pizza. With the start of the new season, Peter Brackett's police box, as introduced in 1963, was finally retired, having made its last on-screen appearance in The Seeds of Doom Part 6. Accounts vary as to whether this was a stylistic choice or because the roof of the prop collapsed while Tom Baker and Elizabeth Sladen were inside. The new police box was designed by Barry Newberry. It's weird. This episode introduces a lot of shit, and it's just not a good episode.
But it introduces a lot of like stuff. Like there's not a lot of like major stuff introduced, you know?
Yeah. It's not like they introduced the concept of regeneration in the web planet.
Yeah. Exactly.
It's not that bad. Yeah. That's it for facts.
Okay. Then there we have it, folks.
Country Road, take us home.
We ask you to like and comment and subscribe, even if you don't like the episode. We'll be back next week for more Doctor Who, because that's what we do here.
Whoa.
Whoa. We have new Doctor Who coming soon. Don't forget, we will be reviewing it every Wednesday night when it comes out. Chris isn't going to go away. I can't tell which direction it's pointing. The iPad camera flips me, and then This way.
No, other way.
This way.
Yes.
So it's
Yeah.
flipping me because I'm pointing to the wall right now and it shows me pointing to the wall. But yeah, you will not be away this time.
Wait, you want to say that again? I'm pointing at the wall and it's showing me pointing at the wall. Yes, you were right the first time.
Anyway, we'll see y'all next time. Thank you. Bye.
Yeah.
Goodbye.
Thumbs up.